Bless you all. Please be seated. Thank you so much for such a warm reception here in Mobile. I've decided I like Mobile. It's nice. Yes. Thank you all very much. And Keith, thank you so much for allowing me to step into your pulpit today. And let me assure you that in itself is an honor, and I don't take it lightly. I'm delighted to be with you. I see we have a lot of veterans and we have a lot of first responders. Somewhere in this audience we must have some Marines. Where are my Marines? You can normally tell they're normally the most obnoxious ones in the audience. But this is what I tell my Marine friends. You do not have to worry. I will not use anything over a two-syllable word during this talk here. So you're safe. All right? And all of you guys in the Navy, just go ahead and go to sleep right now, and because I know you won't last through my 45 minutes here. In fact, the pastor gave me an hour and a half today. So no, I won't do that to you. Listen, it's wonderful to be with you. I brought with me a member of my ministry board, Mr. Larry Sessoms here, and I bring Larry with me as often as I can because he does one very important thing for me. He prays for me. He prays for me while I talk. He prays for me at other times. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. But look, what I contemplated what to talk to you about, and I prayed about it, and I want to share really my personal story with you this morning. I want to share my story of you with some struggles that I've had, with some battles that I've been in. And in the end, I want this story to encourage you because we all live in a world where we are surrounded by an enemy that we frequently don't understand. Even Jesus himself called Satan the prince of this world. Think about it. Jesus himself called Satan the prince of this world. So when we think about spiritual warfare, we have to remember that we really are up against a real enemy. I was asked in a TV interview recently if I thought Satan was just a metaphor for evil, and I said, no, I don't. The same Bible that told me about God and about his Son, Jesus Christ, and about his Spirit told me about Satan, about the enemy. He's very real. And we're in a battle with him every day. And I want to talk to you today a little bit about the battle that I have fought during my military career with this same enemy. On the 15th of October, 2003, on the nightly news, Tom Brokaw had a program that went something like this. It said the Pentagon has a new 3-star general as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. His job is to track down all the enemies of the state, people like Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden, and other terrorists like Zarqawi and Zawahiri. And by all accounts, this would be the perfect man for this job. He is a founding member of the Delta Force, a former commander of all the Army's Green Berets. He's been in every conflict since Vietnam that this country has entered into. Wounded twice in battle. A soldier's soldier, chased Pablo Escobar in Colombia and Manuel Noriega in Panama. However, in an investigation, NBC News has discovered that there's another side to this general. That is, that he is an evangelical Christian. And they spat the words as if they were cursing me because I was an evangelical Christian. And then they went on to say a number of things. And here's a little bit of what they said. They said that I had cast the war in religious terms. That in fact I had said that this was a war between Islam and Christianity. They said that I had called Muslims Satan. and that I had told a warlord in Mogadishu, Somalia, during the events of Black Hawk Down that my God was bigger than his, that I had said this was a Christian nation, and that I'd said George Bush was in the White House because God appointed him for such a time as this. And then they went on to say that I was hunting the criminals of the state. Now let me tell you that just prior to this event on the 15th of October, NBC had come to me and asked, or CBS, had come to me and asked me to do a 60 Minutes program about my faith. I had declined. David Martin, the Pentagon correspondent, asked me to do it. I had declined. I did not want to be on television. I want to make that perfectly clear. I didn't want to be in the news. For 33 years, I had been hiding from the media. And I declined David's request that I do a 60 Minutes program. And as we walked out into the hall of the Pentagon outside my office, David Martin said one thing: would you pray for my producer? Her name is Mary, and she has breast cancer. And I said, David, I will pray for your producer, and I'll put her on my prayer list. We parted ways. Remember that name. It will come back up again as I tell you this story. Well, to set the record straight, I want to tell you that I had actually been on record printed in newspapers saying this is not a war between Islam and Christianity. Listen carefully, it is not a war between Islam and Christianity. It's a war between good and evil. And radical Islam is only one of the forces of evil. There are many other evils that manifest in our country, in our society, in our world. And we're fighting against those things every single day. Radical Islam is only one form of that evil. Nonetheless, it was printed, and I know it'll surprise you, but the media quite frequently does not get it exactly right. Don't be disappointed with that statement. The other thing is, I actually said the real war was a spiritual war, and it was right here on the streets of America. I went on to say that Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden were not the enemies. They were manifestations of the enemy, but they were not the enemy. That in fact our enemy truly was Satan, because of the spiritual nature of the difficulties that we as a nation were having. I said the roots of this nation are Judeo-Christian. They hate us because we're a nation of believers, and the roots of our nation are Judeo-Christian. That's a historical fact. Many people would like to deny. Even the Supreme Court agreed with that in 1991. The roots of this nation are Judeo-Christian. I did say that the majority of Americans did not vote for George Bush. Therefore, I could only conclude that he was in the White House for such a time as this. As Benjamin Franklin said, God does intervene in the affairs of men. And when we captured a warlord in Mogadishu, Somalia, during the events of Black Hawk Down, I went into a small Connex container. I said to him, "Are you Osman Otto?" He said, "Yes, I am." And I looked at him and I said, "Mr. Otto, you underestimated our God." And that was all I said to him. Later in Daytona Beach, Florida, at Bobby Welch's First Baptist Church there, I said to the audience, I knew my God was bigger than his. That was taken completely out of context and repeated. And then I became the highlight of all media focus and attention. After that was aired on the night of the 15th of October, the next day, let me tell you, every newspaper across the country, every radio program, every television program, every channel, I was the main subject of attention and discussion. And I want to tell you also that it was ugly. Some of the things that I was hearing that I was accused of were appalling. It was pretty painful. It was pretty brutal. And I thought after 33 years of serving my country and defending the First Amendment, to have the media in this country go after me with lies and with distortions and with such vengeance was very hurtful, very painful.